Fourth moral code: shunning sensuality. Fourth moral code of conduct is to shun adultery. That means renouncement of unethical practice of adultery. That is renouncement of homosexual or heterosexual relationships among men and women, which are immoral, undesirable, and improper. Renouncement does not mean to renounce adultery through physical body only, but complete renouncement of unethical sexual relationships through mind, action, and speech. That means to observe celibacy in gross and subtle forms, to attain desirelessness for sexual relationships by restraining the senses. Let us understand the gross meaning of the term celibacy. Celibacy means to restrain the desires of mind and senses, to experience and enjoy sexual pleasures with total awareness. If desires to enjoy sexual pleasures are not under control and state of celibacy is disrupted knowingly or unknowingly, in wakeful state or in dreams and semen is released, it is adultery. As all the birds and animals have 4 types of natural instincts, which are hunger, sleep, fear, and desire to copulate, human beings also have these natural instincts, because a human is also an animal. He also lives his life inspired by his natural instincts, just like other animals. They live their lives naturally. Hunger, sleep, fear, and desire to copulate are all natural instincts. Mind and consciousness of an animal are developed better than that of a tree or a plant. Major portion of plant consciousness is full of tama qualities. That means it is almost dead or rigid. Animal consciousness is developed comparatively. Animals have rajasic qualities also, along with tamasic qualities. Yet animal consciousness is not as developed as human consciousness. They are almost dull in comparison of a human being, because their physical brain is not developed. So they do not have intelligence, wisdom, sense of discrimination, logical abilities, or analytical abilities. For thousands of years, it is observed that animals have not progressed in the field of science, knowledge, or spirituality, and they have neither conducted any research nor invented anything. The reason behind this is that they just follow their natural instincts to live their lives. Modern scientists have conducted certain experiments which show that some animals like elephants, chimpanzees, dolphins, etc. have extraordinary capacity to adapt to various circumstances compared to other animals. Such animals are capable of experiencing certain feelings like love, affection, hatred, fear, etc. These feelings are also related to natural instincts, whereas development of consciousness in a human body is beyond imagination compared to other animals. Human mind is developed up to the level of intelligence. Intelligence includes the sense of discrimination between meaningful, meaningless, truth, untruth, proper, improper, grasping power, decision power, willpower, reasoning, analytical and organizing abilities, etc. Therefore, human existence is the highest peak of evolution of consciousness among all living beings. Human consciousness can develop sattvic attributes also, along with rajasic and tamasic qualities. Human existence is the best among all the species. Human body is rarely available to deities also, because spiritual evolvement of consciousness is possible only in human existence. Human existence is to perform action, whereas other levels are to experience the consequences of the deeds. A human being who has attained the state of deity by performing holy deeds has to take birth as a human once again, as soon as he has finished enjoying the rewards for the holy deeds. It is necessary to be born as a human being to transit from one category of existence to a higher level. Even a spiritually accomplished entity who has attained divine attributes has to appear in human form to attain ultimate salvation. This is the importance of the human body. Therefore, it is a duty of a sensible person to utilize his physical body to attain spiritual progress. A person can divert his passionate feelings like love, attachment, cravings, fondness, lust, anger, impulsiveness, frenzy, fascination, resentment, etc., by restraining them with the help of his sense of discrimination. He can transform his life completely. A person can attain the highest level of worldly as well as spiritual progress. This is the exceptional quality of a human being. One more peculiarity of a human being is that he can attain unity with the ultimate supreme God, Purna Purushottam, which is the highest peak of spiritual evolvement. If he utilizes his capabilities in the right direction, and if he misuses his capabilities or diverts them in wrong direction, then he could be lost in the dark recesses of deterioration. A person is free to indulge in his natural cravings, or he can restrain them through his sense of discrimination. If he chooses to eat like a glutton and be as strong as an animal, he can do that. He can also enjoy the amorous pleasures like an animal, or he can use his discretion and he can have balanced, nutritious and sattvic diet and live his life in a pious manner. Similarly, he can control his sleep and choose the duration of sleep. The same way he can control his mind and feel fearless, or he can lead a fearful life. Also, he can decide whether to restrain, discriminate, or indulge in sexual pleasures. He can transform his body into weak and diseased existence, like hell by excessive food, impure inputs through senses and mind, excessive sleep, fear or sexual indulgence, and destroy his life. Very little food or sleep without discretion can also disrupt the equilibrium of body and mind. Therefore, discretion is always required. A person can live his life in harmony with nature, or he can tamper with natural laws, disobey the rules, and invite misfortune. Everything depends on his discretion. For example, if atomic power is used in creative way, it could produce significant results in material development. And if it is used for destructive purpose, it can destroy the whole world. Similar is the power of discretion. Sexual desire is a natural instinct among animals. It is a very powerful creative energy. Mother Nature sustains her existence through this energy. The next generation is born. Without sexual energy and reproductive energy cycle of regeneration of nature would have been stopped. A unique creative energy hidden behind sexual desire and reproductive capability is responsible to produce next generation of tree from a tree, insect from an insect, animal from an animal, bird from a bird, and human from a human. Contribution of sexual energy in the process of evolution of consciousness is significant. Sexual energy is life force energy, driving force for the life cycle. The unique quality of human consciousness is that if a person wishes, he can experience infinite, divine bliss and eternal peace by getting united with divine form of God, by liberating himself from the bondage and layers of Kal, Karma and Maya, and attain spiritual evolvement by using his discretion to restrain his senses and divert his sexual energy on spiritual path to transform it into prowess and splendor. To accomplish this highest goal, observance of celibacy and control of senses are emphasized in every religion. Various methods like recitation, austerity, devotion, practice of yoga, etc. are suggested to strengthen desirelessness and celibacy and attain sublimation of senses. If continence is achieved by transforming the sexual energy, which is also life force energy, into spiritual prowess, and by controlling the energy which is being wasted in fulfilling sensual desires of mind, by cultivating proper understanding of discretion, asceticism, recitation, austerity, proper understanding of real form of soul and supreme being, meditation, worship, prayer, devotion, etc., and practicing them sincerely, as per the guidance of an accomplished saint, then a seeker becomes eligible to realize divine form of God in his soul. Such is the importance of observing celibacy. Scriptures have described sinful deeds and holy deeds, or desirable deeds and forbidden deeds, with respect to evolvement or deterioration of consciousness. Holy deeds or good conduct described by scriptures are those deeds which could evolve one's consciousness. Sinful deeds or forbidden deeds are those deeds which could make the consciousness decline. Such classification of deeds is done by God Himself and His fully realized saints. Pious scriptures are also written by God and His saints. Scriptures have permitted holy relationship of husband and wife because it is a moral relationship in terms of body, mind, and spirit. Here, bride and groom are united in marriage in presence of God, with full faith and loyalty towards each other in terms of monogamy, that is, to have only one wife or husband, with the intention to attain spiritual evolvement with the help of each other. Such good intention is the base of ideal marriage and character building. Such strength of character is helpful to progress on spiritual path. Pious relationship of marriage is also necessary to produce good progeny. Therefore, it is acceptable by scriptures. If a person is attracted towards someone other than his or her wife or her husband due to his or her looks or qualities, and feels sexual desires out of affection or for the sake of enjoyment, it is considered as adultery. Such homosexual or heterosexual relationships are destructive for the strength of character and growth of consciousness, so they are immoral and unethical. Such relationships lead a person towards downfall physically, mentally, and spiritually. If decency in conduct is neglected physically or mentally due to such infatuation, then it is adultery. Seeds of sexual desire are attached to our soul from time immemorial. Therefore, it is very difficult and almost impossible to destroy them. Only a rare person could conquer them. Powerful sexual desire can generate mental perversion, which could lead one towards immoral heterosexual relationships or harmful and unnatural homosexual relationships, or even farther than that. It could end up in an unnatural sexual relationship with an animal too. All such harmful and immoral relationship and sexual gestures attempted in solitude due to idleness, infatuation, or lack of discretion are included in the definition of adultery. Adultery performed by physical body and senses is a sinful deed, but adultery committed in mind, which is subtle form of adultery, is also binding. Breach of celibacy in wakeful state or dream state destroys the creative energy. Thus, frequent discharge of reproductive energy, which is also life force energy, obstructs the ascent of consciousness. And finally, a seeker attains descent on the path of spiritual progress. Our physical body is made up of 5 elements, which are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Our body is nourished by these 5 universal elements. Sunlight and other universal energies like prana shaktis. Sunlight is absorbed by plants by the process of photosynthesis. These plants are consumed by us as food. We receive various constituents from our food, which are vitamin, protein, carbohydrates, etc., nourishing elements and minerals, metals, etc., elements which are prepared by the plants with the help of sunlight. These are useful for the nourishment, constitution, and growth of our body. 7 constituent elements of the body, which are fluid, blood, flesh, fat, bone, bone marrow, and semen are produced from the food taken by us. Semen is the essence of other 6 constituent elements. It is the last, that is, 7th constituent element. Just like ghee is the essence of milk, that means food is produced with the help of sunlight. 7 constituent elements are produced from food, and the last constituent element, semen, is the driving force of life force energy of our body. Some yogis can absorb sunlight directly without taking solid food, with the help of their developed willpower. They can live without having any solid food. As per one recent report, a person called Hira Ratan remained alive without taking food for more than 400 days. He surprised a lot of scientists by his achievement. This proves that a person can achieve anything through his will. God has given us such a wonderful gift. Out of 7 constituent elements prepared from food, semen is the material cause of creative energy. If this reproductive and creative energy is wasted unnecessarily and in excess through indulgence in sexual act, then it is harmful to physical, mental, and spiritual growth and development. Mahayogi Gorakhnathji has given one axiom: Maranam bindu paten, Jivanam bindu dharanat. That means conservation of semen or reproductive energy is life-giving, and dissipation of this sexual energy in excess is as harmful as death. Therefore, this creative energy should be restrained and conserved through mindful awareness, and this is beneficial invariably. Any seeker desirous of salvation would understand this aspect immediately. Swami Vivekananda, the renowned disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans, has mentioned that a person who is not observing continence can be successful in accomplishing material goals. He can be a great mathematician, astronomer, leader, doctor, or lawyer, but a characterless person can never be an authentic spiritual person. Innumerable saints, pious scriptures, and muktas agree with this opinion. Therefore, this concept is indisputable. Some modern sexologists and psychologists believe, through their limited knowledge, and also try to convince others that breach of celibacy is not at all harmful. On the contrary, sometimes it is beneficial for health. For example, it is helpful in releasing physical and mental stress and tension. level of cholesterol goes down as calories are burned down, so that heart and brain are not damaged. Body is not damaged by eliminating waste material through urine or excretion, but it is benefited. It is a natural process. Similarly, releasing semen is also a natural process. Therefore, it is not harmful. On the contrary, by observing celibacy, various physical and mental perversions are developed, which are troublesome and distractive. This concept is faulty, but it is true that by obstructing the natural urges, particularly suppressing them forcefully, could create some physical and mental aberrations and diseases. Natural urges like elimination of urine or excretion, urge to cough or hiccup, certain passions like anger, etc., should not be suppressed forcefully. Otherwise, it creates harmful effects. But there is a significant difference between these urges and release of semen, which is caused by passionate sexual desires. It is certainly harmful to control the elimination of waste products like urine and excretion, because these urges throw out the toxins and waste products from the body. So these urges should not be restrained, whereas semen is one of the most important constituent elements out of the 7 chief constituent elements of the body. Semen is very important for the growth and development of body and mind. It is not dirt or a waste product, but it is reproductive energy, creative energy, and life force energy. It is certainly harmful to misuse it for some objective other than to produce progeny. This has been experienced by everyone in one way or other. It is true that unthoughtful suppression of sexual desires without proper discretion or understanding could create mental perversion or diseases. Suppression could be harmful, but sublimation of sexual desires and evolvement of creativity by observing celibacy with subtle understanding and proper discretion could be extremely beneficial for achieving physical, mental, and spiritual growth. This has been firmly confirmed by numerous scriptures, great saints, yogis, self-realized and God-realized, spiritually accomplished saints and muktas, and many incarnations of God. Are the modern sexologists more wise and brilliant than these people? How could modern sexologists gauge the real significance of celibacy? Through their limited perspective. Because they are neither spiritually accomplished nor having great character. Therefore, a seeker who is desirous of spiritual evolvement and who wants to progress on the path of God realization, it is imperative that he ignores the opinion of sexologists and endeavors to restrain his sexual desires and attain detachment from worldly pleasures. Here there is no scope of adjustments. On one hand, if a seeker is trying to attain spiritual evolvement by performing austerity, and simultaneously if he is not observing celibacy and living a characterless sinful life, then austerities performed by him are futile. And it is certain that in the end, he attains spiritual deterioration. Swami Vivekananda used to say that Nai Matama Bal Hinen Labhyaha. That means God realization or self-realization cannot be attained by those who are weak and do not observe celibacy. Some people perform physical penance like recitation, austerity, fast, staying awake at night, etc., in excess, without any awareness and understanding to subdue their strong sexual desires and treat their bodies as if it is their enemy. Due to such atrocities, the power of sense and strength of mind becomes extremely weak. Therefore, sense of discrimination, grasping power, memory, decision power, willpower, all these capacities become weak. Such unintelligent and unreasonable physical penance makes body and mind weak. As a result, spirituality cannot blossom. Body and mind are two sides of one coin. If body is weakened, mind is also weakened, and vice versa. Therefore, recitation, meditation, etc. means to sublimate the senses, and the mind should be performed very cautiously and carefully. Then they can give miraculous results. On the contrary, if sexual instincts are suppressed forcefully, and recitation, penance, fasting, etc. means are performed in excess, then tamasic tendencies flourish and physical diseases as well as mental aberrations like loss of memory, mental dullness, low grasping power, low analytical abilities, depression, madness, insanity, etc. develop. Some people try to justify certain mental aberrations as experience of samadhi or appearance of some deity in the body. This is sheer ignorance. Rigid approach towards spiritual practice is not advisable. Therefore, guidance of a God-realized mukta is necessary. Guidance and blessings of a God-realized mukta can help us on the path of spiritual progress. Otherwise, there are a lot of obstacles. Fake gurus and the austerities performed in an unintelligent and rigid ways can produce adverse effect on physical, mental, and spiritual level. Therefore, Lord Swaminarayan has considered suppression and sublimation as two very important concepts. Sri Krishna Bhagwan has also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita that those who eat excess and who do not eat at all, those who sleep in excess and who do not sleep at all, cannot master yoga. Only those can succeed on the path of spiritual progress who follow the middle path with sense of discretion. The real meaning of yoga is to attain unity with divine form of God. Practicing asanas, pranayam, or practice of hatha yoga is not real definition of yoga. Now let us consider some methods or techniques to conquer the sexual desires and strengthen the celibacy. The pervert desires could be transformed into sattvic tendencies by serving the saints and attaining their guidance, blessings and grace. By cultivating real understanding and sense of discretion, by controlling the desires of senses and mind for the 5 objects of enjoyment and diverting the senses and mind towards worship, devotion and meditation of God, by performing studies of good scriptures, selfless service and other good deeds. Such techniques of sublimation should be practiced continuously without any delay or laziness. When senses are attracted towards objects of enjoyment, God and His mukta should be served and selfless services should be offered for beneficial activities related to God. Selfless, desireless karma yoga should be performed. When rajasic and tamasic tendencies prevail in the mind, Sankhya Gyan should be contemplated upon. I am soul. I am pure consciousness. I am beyond 3 bodies, physical, astral, causal, as well as I am beyond the desires of Mahakaran splendor. I am beyond the 3 states which are wakefulness, dream state, and unconsciousness. I am beyond 3 attributes of Maya, which are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. I am beyond inner enemies like lust, anger, greed, ignorance, pride, envy, hatred, ego, etc. I am beyond all the opposites like happiness, unhappiness, respect, insult, cold, hot, like, dislike, comfortable, uncomfortable, profit, loss, criticism, praise, attachment, hatred, etc. I am without any passion, impurities, attributes, flaws or faults. My real form is Sat Chit Anand, that is truth, consciousness, bliss. I am an Anadi Mukta who has attained the ultimate salvation by the grace of God and His Mukta, and who is fully immersed into divine form of God. Mind should be pacified through such highest intention. When consciousness is full of sattvic attributes, divine form of God should be contemplated upon. Here also, meditation should be practiced constantly with the highest kind of visualization, like I am experiencing the divine bliss of God by remaining immersed into the divine form of God. To conquer the sexual desires, various means like recitation, austerities, fasting to subdue physical passions, and to sublimate mental desires can be useful if performed with proper understanding and without any excess or rigidity. By performing such means in proper manner, detached awareness is developed and celibacy is attained. This makes our soul eligible to realize God. Now let us go through certain methods to conquer the strong sexual desires. When mind is fully engrossed by the strong sexual desires, a seeker should sing the mantra Swaminarayan in loud voice and simultaneously clapping the hands as explained in Vachnamrit by Bhagwan Swaminarayan himself. Name of God has wonderful power. By reciting His name, all sensual desires vanish. When sensual desires are very strong, mind should be diverted to some other subjects. For example, pious scriptures can be studied. Kirtan can be sung in loud voice. God's narratives can be read, or some sattvic activity like worship of God can be performed. Teachings of God and His muktas can be remembered and contemplated upon. Blessings of muktas can be remembered, and thoughts which could strengthen the faith should be contemplated upon. Divine form of God and His muktas should be visualized with concentration, and we should pray to them with affection to protect us from all the evils. We can consider their concept of Sankhya Gyan also. I am beyond this body, and experiences related to body. Enjoyment in sensual experiences is the reflection of my own bliss and happiness. Desires of senses and mind, 5 objects of senses, are illusory. So how could they give happiness? My real form is Sat Chit Anand, truth, consciousness, bliss. I am united with divine form of God, so I am entitled to experience the bliss of God. Material objects of sensual desires are created by Maya. They are illusory, so they are not capable of giving me bliss. We can sing kirtans describing divine form of God and His divine, playful character. We can listen to the cassettes of such kirtans. By contemplating upon the process of creation, sustenance and destruction of 4 types, mind becomes detached, and all the passions subside. By considering a person of opposite sex as mother, sister, father, son or brother, all pervert desires subside. By cultivating feeling of impurity or foulness, that is, by realizing that the body is full of bones, skin, blood, flesh, urine, excrement, pus, etc., foul-smelling, hell-like substances. Such substances cannot provide enjoyment. Such feeling of defilement can also help to sublimate the passions. As oneself is a soul, similarly the person of opposite sex is also a soul. Such realization can also help in decreasing the attraction towards opposite sex and can subdue strong feelings. By utilizing any one of these techniques, whichever is convenient, sexual desires can be sublimated. During the intense sexual desires, other methods can also be used. For example, to drink cold water, to have bath with cold water, to breathe deeply, to visualize divine form of God in the Agya chakra, which is in the middle of the eyebrows, or to visualize divine form of God in one's heart, to recite stotra or mantra. By performing such devices, sexual energy do not flow towards the centers governing sexual organs, which are Mooladhara chakra or Swadhisthana chakra, but it flows upwards. Thus, by diverting sexual energy upwards, all the desires subside. Such techniques of yoga are also useful to conquer sexual desires. By performing all these techniques, mind is pacified and desires of sensual enjoyment are dissolved as soon as they arise. Therefore, seeds of such desires are not cultivated. If a desire is nurtured for a long time, it manifests and produces bad results. Therefore, it is advisable that desires of sensual enjoyment should be curbed by using any of these methods. If seeker feels angry towards impure desires and prays to God and his mukta with full devotion, then by grace of God and his mukta, he gradually becomes detached and without any such desires. It is very important to control one's enjoyment of food to conquer the sexual desires. Very spicy, hot, salty, sour, sweet or oily food are full of rajasic or tamasic quality. Such food should be avoided. Onions, garlic. Very pungent and hot food, stale food kept overnight, and sour fruits with milk or overeating can increase rajasic or tamasic tendencies, which causes imbalance of hormones which secrete from various glands. As a result, imbalance of Vata, Pitta and Kapha is caused in the body, and poison is created which makes the blood impure, and senses are distracted towards sensual enjoyment. If aroused, sexual desires are not controlled in time, then they find a way out. That means it is discharged. Frequent discharge of sexual energy causes a number of diseases in the body and mind. Therefore, it is imperative for a seeker to discipline one's life force energy by controlling one's food intake. Food should be pure, full of sattvic qualities, nutritious and less in quantity, which would maintain the flow of life force energy. By maintaining the flow of life force energy, desires of senses and mind can also be controlled. It has been mentioned in Yoga Shastra to imagine one's stomach divided in 4 parts, and it is suggested that only 2 parts should be filled up by food. 1 part should be filled up with water and 1 part should be kept empty for the gases to move around. This has been prescribed for a seeker. Bhagwan Swaminarayan has also mentioned in Vachanamrit to avoid the temptations of overeating. Hence, food should be taken in moderate or less quantity. One should not roam around without any purpose or without any good intention. long duration of sleep during daytime, laziness, idleness, vulgar scenes, dialogues or songs from vulgar films, drama or dance programs, or bad company can arouse sexual desires. Tobacco, alcohol, opium, hemp, etc. intoxicants can trigger sexual desires. Therefore, they should be renounced with total awareness and understanding. Frequent contact of a person of the opposite sex in solitary places should be avoided. It is forbidden to stay with mother, sister or daughter while alone, except for the time of emergency. Because if sexual desires are very strong, they can create havoc. Some incidents have taken place where a daughter becomes pregnant through her father. There is always an exception to this rule. A person who is of strong character and strong willpower and having proper understanding cannot be distracted by sensual desires. But everyone cannot be such exceptional person and take the risk. If they take risk, they have to face bad consequences. Therefore, all these points should be considered. Tyagis are initiated on the path of emancipation and ultimate salvation. Therefore, if they experience the desires of sensual enjoyment and do not feel angry and dejected, but are distracted by such desires even in their minds, then it is considered as mental adultery. This can prove sinful as well as binding, because when the vibrations of mental desires come in contact with physical body, they activate hormonal glands, and desires are originated in senses. Then this can break restraint of senses. These psychosomatic processes are very fast, so if they are not controlled in time, one has to face adverse effects. Therefore, desires should be restrained with constant awareness and understanding. If a Tyagi breaks his celibacy through his physical body, he can purify himself by performing penance, meditation, bhajan, prayer, worship, austerities. But frequent breaches of celibacy cannot be purified by performing penance or austerities. His derogatory impulses take him towards lower level of existence after his death. He may haunt in subtle world in the form of ghost, spirit or Brahma Rakshas. He goes through a lot of painful experiences. This has been mentioned in scriptures. If a yogi cannot detach himself before his death, then he attains the next birth. Therefore, a seeker should try to renounce adultery by following the teachings of God and performing religious rituals. Then he becomes eligible for God realization. A grihastha should completely avoid the contact of all the women other than his wife. He should copulate his wife during proper days of the month, as explained by the scriptures. He should perform sexual acts to attain good progeny and not to satisfy his sexual desires. 16 days after the menstrual period starts are considered as days of impregnation. Here, first 4 nights, Ekadashi, full moon day and other pious days are to be avoided. Rest of the days are appropriate for copulation. Copulation could be performed during night only, because it is forbidden during daytime. After having 1 or 2 children, the couple should live a pious life by giving up enjoyment of sex with mutual consent. This makes them eligible to attain God. For a grihastha, after the age of 50 years, it is considered one prasthashram. If a grihastha is active in his sex life even after the age of 50 years, he creates unpardonable binding of karmas. He has to face the consequences in form of diseases or in some other form. These days, atmosphere is polluted by various types of germs, bacteria, viruses, and radiations. If we do not live a restrained or disciplined life, we die before time, or we may contact a lot of diseases, which make life miserable. Therefore, it is advisable to live a disciplined life. Discipline is a must for a seeker. A woman is door to hell for a man, and a man is door to hell for a woman. Such understanding is abhorrent or futile. This concept is wrong. The reason behind such statements in scriptures is to frighten an ignorant person. If such ignorant person is not cautioned by such strong words, he can create chaos, and the whole social system is disrupted. Therefore, sometimes such statements are necessary. But the fact is, sexual attraction of a man towards a woman and that of a woman towards a man is for the sake of enjoyment only, which is of the lowest category. That means it causes the downfall of spiritual consciousness. Such understanding does not create hatred among man and woman, but they can have respect and reverence towards each other, so that both of them can attain salvation. There is no alternative to correct understanding. If a man and a woman help each other with respect and understanding, and without any lustful attitude, considering each other as co-workers, brother-sister, mother-son, or father-daughter, to perform the noble, humble services towards humanity, society, or country, then the best results could be achieved and progress could be attained. This should not be considered as adultery, but if the limits are crossed due to human weaknesses, then the beautiful building of character is destroyed and licentiousness spreads. Such incidents happen frequently. Therefore, limits set by religion are important and necessary. Now let us understand the subtle meaning of celibacy. By following celibacy in gross as well as subtle ways, sexual energy, which is very powerful creative energy, is sublimated and transformed into spiritual energy. A seeker attains continence. By attaining continence, one becomes eligible for God realization. After attaining such eligibility, a seeker can attain unity with divine form of God, with the help of a God-realized Anadi Mukta. Thus, a seeker attains unity with divine form of God and remains immersed into the divine form of God. He experiences eternal bliss of God all the time. This is the subtle and spiritual meaning of celibacy. Thus, by understanding subtle and gross meaning of celibacy, detachment should be strengthened and adultery should be renounced in all the ways. This is considered as observance of fourth Vartaman, fourth moral code of conduct, renouncement of adultery. Fifth moral code: not to get defiled, nor to defile others. Not to get defiled, nor to defile others means a seeker should retain purity and should not attempt to impurify others also. He should maintain purity and be helpful to others in maintaining purity. He should not act or behave in such a way that he is defiled and also defiles others. For example, a rotten fruit in the basket spoils all the fruits. Similarly, an impure person contaminates other people also. This moral code of conduct includes inner purification as well as outer purification. Physical or outer cleanliness and inner purification is the first step towards spiritual attainment. Without such purification, progress on spiritual path is not possible. Some people give more emphasis to outer cleanliness and ignore inner purity. This is a grave mistake. Some people have bath a number of times during the day. They live under constant fear that if somebody touches him, they would become impure. They worry the whole day that if the offerings to God, clothes, eatables, etc. are touched by someone belonging to lower caste or an impure person or bird or animal, they would accumulate great sins. Due to such worries, they are not able to perform properly various means to attain God, like knowledge, meditation, worship, prayer, contemplation of divine form of God, etc. By maintaining such other cleanliness, some recognition could be achieved in society. Wow, he is a real devotee. He follows all the rules explained in religious scriptures. He is a very pious person. Such praise nourishes one's ego and he believes himself better than other people. But he cannot progress spiritually. So he remains cipher as far as spiritual attainments are concerned. Spiritual progress is not possible till outer cleanliness is achieved, but inner consciousness is not purified. For example, fish remain in the water all the time. Does that mean they are spiritually accomplished? They are not. Their spiritual states remain the same. Therefore, outer purification or makeup without inner purification are meaningless. Some people give more importance to inner purification and consider outer cleanliness secondary. This is also a mistake because during the process of self-realization and God-realization, inner as well as outer purification are equally important. Once self-realization and God-realization are attained and unity with divine form of God is attained, then any kind of impurity cannot affect. Such spiritually accomplished muktas also perform both types of purification, just to set an example for the seekers on the path. To empty bowls, to brush the teeth, to take bath, to wash hands, feet and face, to wear washed clothes, to perform prayer, worship at a clean place sitting on a clean mat, to perform recitation, austerities, meditation, devotion, etc. are means of outer purification. By performing outer purification, mind becomes pure, sattvic and without any aberrations. Consciousness is also clarified and divine form of soul, God can be contemplated easily and without any distraction. Food should be prepared after purifying oneself and should be offered to God. By having such food, sattvic attributes develop and rajasic and tamasic qualities decrease. As a result, concentration, grasping power, sense of discretion, subtle understanding, etc. develop. Occult principles of spirituality can be understood easily through such purified sattvic consciousness. To attain this, body should be made clean, healthy, and agile by performing outer purifications. This will make one's mind healthy and without any desires. Thus, means to attain inner purity should be performed along with outer cleanliness. Under the guidance of a mukta, one should learn to perform various means like knowledge, meditation, worship, recitation, austerities, outer worship, mansi puja, etc. with complete devotion and reverence. These means should be practiced and performed every day with complete devotion, affection oozing out from whole body and complete surrender and submission towards divine form of God. Pious scriptures should be studied with concentration. Teachings of a spiritually accomplished mukta should be understood, contemplated and followed with full faith. Grace of God could be attained by serving spiritually accomplished muktas and by remaining in constant contact with Him. As a result, one's consciousness is purified. Divine affection and devotion towards God originates in a purified consciousness, and a seeker becomes eligible for ultimate salvation. To attain God realization, inner as well as outer purification are the most important. Subtle waves of radiation are emitted from the body of every person and from the objects used by that person. From animals, etc. also, such waves are emitted, which are known as aura or aurical radiations. A luminous circle of such emissions is formed around the body. This is known as aura. Aura of a living being keeps on changing as per his mental state, thoughts, acts and behavior, whereas radiations emitted by a non-living object do not change. Even the inanimate objects are affected by the aura of an alive person. Aura is formed as a person's emotional state. Aura of a person whose consciousness is pure is of bright and transparent colors. Aura of a person whose consciousness is not pure is of dark and dull colors. Tejolesha means bright red-colored aura, similar to that of a rising sun. Padmalesha is of bright yellow color. Shuklalesha is of pure white color. Lesha means waves of aura. Above mentioned leshas are considered auspicious and pious. It flows from the energy centers or chakras situated above navel center in subtle body. Krishna Lesha means aura of black color. Neel Lesha means aura of dark blue color. And Kapot Lesha means aura of grey and rust color. Such leshas are considered impure and inauspicious. It flows from the center situated below navel center. Consciousness of a person having bad intentions or bad conduct is more active at the Mooladhara chakra or Swadhishthana chakra, which are situated below the navel. These people are suffering from lust, anger, pride, envy, etc. weaknesses. Their aura is generally of black, blue or grey color. They are having bad intentions and perform wrong and sinful deeds. Whereas a person whose consciousness is more active at the Anahat chakra, Vishuddha chakra, Agya chakra and Sahasrar chakra, which are situated above Manipur chakra, are sattvic and pious people. They have attained certain spiritual progress. Their aura is of red, yellow or of bright white color. Pious waves are emitted from such people. The chakras are energy centers situated in subtle body. They are energized and activated by the consciousness of a soul. Hormonal glands in the physical body are activated by the waves of energy flowing from these centers. As a result, physical and mental activities take place. Our physical body is affected by our subtle body. Energy centers in subtle body emits waves of different colors as per different feelings, and accordingly, physical activities are performed. Physical acts create the bondage of karma. These karmas are attached with causal body as subtle samskaras. These seeds of karma stored in causal body activates the subtle body, and in turn, subtle body activates the physical body. This cycle keeps on repeating itself. Virtues like truth, non-violence, continence, selfless service, religious practice, knowledge, awareness, detachment, devotion, forgiveness, etc. triggers pious state of mind. As a result, aura is also formed of pious colors. These waves or vibrations cannot be seen through physical eyes. A person who has cultivated divine sight by performing meditation can see such auric fields and feel them. Muktas or spiritually accomplished yogis can perceive a person's virtues, weaknesses, mental states, feelings and karma, wishes, etc. through their divine sight or inner vision. As explained earlier, such waves have color, length, breadth, etc. dimensions. The purpose of serving saints or pious people is that they emit pious vibrations. The beneficial effects of such pious waves can be experienced by the people and objects coming in contact with them and on the surrounding atmosphere. As a result, people who are in close contact of such pious saints feel peace and tranquility. Even a sinner visiting a mukta can be relieved of his sins if he touches or feels a mukta with sincerity and open heart. The intention behind accepting prasad from a mukta is also the same. An object or an eatable touched by a pious saint or a mukta becomes pure. A person receiving this prasad also becomes pure. The earth where a saint moves around becomes a pious place of pilgrimage. Such place and surrounding atmosphere remains pious for a long time due to divine vibrations of a saint. Sins of people visiting such places are destroyed. As pious vibrations are emitted by a pious person and affects everyone in close vicinity, impure vibrations are emitted by wicked, impious and sinful people. Such sinners contaminate the people and objects who are in contact with them. Even through touch, they can spoil an object. Therefore, scriptures have forbidden to remain in contact with such impure people and to accept the objects which are used by them. Bhagwan Swaminarayan has mentioned in Vachanamrit for the same reason that the effect of close contact of an impious person is similar to that of an intoxicant. Hence, this is the scientific reason behind the fact that a person is transformed as per his company. Therefore, a seeker desirous of salvation should avoid the company of sinners who commit violence, bad conduct, adultery, stealing, lustful deeds, cunning acts and addiction. The touch of such people should be avoided. If unknowingly or in a crowd such people touch, a seeker should have bath after coming home and perform prayers to God. This will clear up the bad effects. It is beneficial for health also to have bath after coming home. Consciousness is purified by performing remembrance of God, recitation, prayer and meditation after having bath. Therefore, a seeker should perform such means regularly and frequently till he attains salvation. Lethargy or negligence should be avoided, and such practices should not be considered less significant. By following these rules, obstacles on the path of spiritual progress can be overcome. Except for emergency, a seeker should avoid eating here and there to maintain his purity. He should not accept even water offered by unclean and impure people. In such matters, he should not try to imitate a spiritually accomplished mukta. Spiritually accomplished muktas accept food, water or services offered by a sinner to liberate him. But this is not forbidden for them, because after attaining unity with divine form of God, no impurities can affect them. But if other people try to imitate them, they become impure. A seeker should remain in frequent contact of a mukta whenever he finds time. If spiritually accomplished saints or muktas are not present in their physical form, their teachings and preaching should be remembered, and thus a seeker should remain in their contact. He can remain in contact with pious people who follow outer means of purification and who are on the path of spiritual progress. Satsangis should always remain in contact while striving on the path of salvation. Such contact strengthens their aspirations and accelerates their progress on the path of spiritual attainment. Company of bad people should be completely and strictly avoided with total awareness. When a spiritually accomplished saint is present in his physical form, he should always be served with reverence, and a seeker should remain in contact with him. This will accelerate his progress on spiritual path. Such Sadguru is a moving place of pilgrimage. Just by sitting next to such Sadguru, inner enemies like lust, anger, etc. are weakened, and ultimate peace can be experienced. If a seeker who is in contact with a Sadguru is eligible, he can attain unity with divine form of God and attain divine state, similar to the Sadguru. As Parasmani, a stone which can convert other things into gold, transforms other things into paras. Similarly, a contact of a spiritually accomplished saint transforms other person into spiritually accomplished person. This is the significance of physical existence of a Satpurush. Here Satpurush means a spiritually accomplished mukta and not a person who is still on the path of liberation. The fifth moral code of conduct also includes shunning bad company, along with outer and inner purification. We have discussed the effects of good and bad company in detail while explaining the science of auric fields. Now, let us discuss it further. Bhagwan Swaminarayan has emphasized to remain in contact of spiritually accomplished saints and satsangis, and to avoid the company of bad people. Company of 4 types of bad people should be especially avoided: Kudapanthis, ill Shaktipanthis, atheists, and dull Vedantis. Company of these 4 types of people should be avoided. These people interpret scriptures like Ved, Puran, Upanishad, etc. through their worldly point of view and as per their imagination, and behave in such a way that their own consciousness and other people's consciousness is tainted or polluted. Most of them consume alcohol and meat, perform adultery, and are addicted to intoxicants like opium, hemp, tobacco, etc. Such people manipulate other people and misguide them. They corrupt innocent people and direct them towards downfall. Company of atheists and dull Vedantis is the most dangerous and risky because endeavors to attain unity with Seeker, divine form of God, are disrupted. Such people do not understand the significance of worship of divine form of God, and they consider themselves as the doer of all. So they cannot go beyond the veil of illusion, which manifests in the form of ego. Dull Vedantis are those people who have not experienced the knowledge of Vedant, but they interpret the knowledge as per their imagination and waste their precious time in futile discussions of this knowledge. They consider that soul is Brahma and there is no ultimate God other than soul. All the rituals and teachings explained in scriptures are of no significance. Any pious acts or sinful acts do not affect Brahma. With such understanding, they indulge in false pretense, adultery, etc. without any discretion. Through contact of such people, one's perception is affected, and if one's devotion towards God is affected, then the ultimate salvation cannot be attained till eternity. Other sinful acts can be purified because spiritually accomplished saints shower their blessings out of compassion and liberate every sinner. A robber called Valya became Saint Valmiki through the contact of a saint. A vicious robber like Joban Pagi came in contact of Bhagwan Swaminarayan and turned into a devotee of the highest quality. Thus, even sinner can attain liberation, but the people who are in contact of atheists and Shushka Vedantis cannot attain ultimate salvation. So, a seeker should continuously pray to God that he should never come in contact of these 4 types of people. This is explained by Bhagwan Swaminarayan. Sri Hari has also mentioned in Shiksha Patri that company of a thief, sinner, addict, lustful person and that of a trickster should be avoided. We acquire good and bad qualities of a person with whom we are in contact with. For example, a person who is in contact of a sinner is tempted to commit sinful acts. Contact of a thief may generate the desire to steal, and a person may become a lustful person in company of other lustful persons because certain weaknesses like lust, etc., are inherent in all the living beings. They emerge in the company of a person who has such weaknesses. Therefore, Sri Hari has forbidden the contact of such people who are desirous of women, money and enjoyments of taste. We have also discussed earlier that our aura is affected by the aura of other people with whom we are in contact with. Therefore, seekers should use their discretion and try to be choosy about the person they are in contact with. Sri Hari has advised unmarried, married or widowed women to avoid the company of Swaireni, Kamini, Pushchali women who indulge in immoral deeds and who are not of good character. Therefore, women should avoid such bad company always with total awareness. They should remain in contact with pure and religious women. This would help them in their spiritual progress. The last moral code of conduct also includes the instruction to maintain cleanliness and purity during menstrual periods. For young women, menstrual cycle is a natural process of release of eggs produced in ovaries as a result of hormonal changes. As per medical science, adverse effects of menstruation last for 3 days. Therefore, it is necessary to maintain outer cleanliness and inner purity and take rest considering the physical and mental changes like mood swings, etc. Sri Hari has instructed not to touch any person or objects for 3 days except for emergency, and on the 4th day after having bath, a woman can touch everything. During these days, rest, mental peace and restraint are very necessary. This is good for the physical and mental health of the woman and all others. These days, many ladies ignore this instruction of Sri Hari and do not follow the rules properly during menstruation. This is not appropriate. By not following the rules, sometimes it is harmful and there is a possibility of some mishap. So, if this instruction is not ignored, God would be pleased and harmful consequences could be avoided. Scientists have noted certain mental changes along with physical changes during menstruation periods. Mental depression, short temper, lack of concentration, lack of interest in any activity, loss of memory up to certain extent are observed during these days. Due to pain and aches in stomach, back and muscles, a woman feels like having rest. Such changes have been observed by the experts. During menstruation, impure and harmful waves are emitted from the body of a woman. In common language, these harmful emissions are called as a shadow of woman. Due to the harmful effects of such shadow, surrounding atmosphere is affected. As a result, grains, pickles, etc. are spoiled. If a snake comes under such influence, it loses its eyesight. This has been mentioned in Bhakta Chintamani by Sadguru Nishkudanand Swami. Experts of parapsychology says that during these days, women are likely to be troubled by some elements of demonic and impure characteristic belonging to subtle world. Therefore, it is necessary to perform prayer and recitation along with maintaining outer cleanliness. Let us examine certain expert opinion on this topic. A famous doctor called Sarek has proved by experiments that radiations emitted from the body of a woman having menstrual periods are harmful. He has proved by experiments that flower withers in the hands of a menstruating woman and heartbeats of a frog slow down. During these days, if a woman copulates with her husband or some other man and she conceives, then the baby would be having some physical or mental defects. A Roman writer named Pliny noted that milk, grains and pickles rot faster due to touch of a menstruating woman. American professor Sheikh also writes that body of a menstruating woman is full of toxins. If she walks on a green lawn, then along with the lawn, surrounding flowers, tulsi plants, etc., wither. Fruits are also spoiled. According to American Journal of Clinical Medicine, 1921 AD. During ancient days in Egypt, it was a custom that menstruating women should stay in solitude. Parsi and Islam religions also do not consider a menstruating woman pious and pure. As per Jewish religion, the menstruating women should follow the rules for 7 days. Touch of a menstruating woman instigates sexual desires in a man quickly. This is an expert's opinion. Ayurveda has emphasized menstruating women to follow celibacy. Thus, almost all the religions and societies have devised certain rules to be followed during menstruation. Therefore, these rules should be followed with awareness and restraint, except for emergency. In modern age, women work in the offices and do business to develop their career and to be helpful financially. It is also necessary, but still, they should try to maintain inner and outer purity during menstruation. They should try to avoid touching anybody if not required. If they touch somebody in a crowd or while commuting, they should have a bath after coming home. Thus, it is necessary to maintain cleanliness while working. After using the toilets, after performing copulation or after touching an impure person, it is necessary to have bath for the sake of purification. Impure thoughts and mental impurities can be purified by performing meditation, bhajans, prayer, recitation, attending satsang, contemplating good thoughts. This moral code of conduct includes the need of mental purification also. Thus, a person should maintain inner and outer purity and also be helpful to others in maintaining purity. He should always try to keep his speech, behavior, and thoughts truthful, pure, and which can set an example for others to follow, so that other people can also feel inspired to live an ideal life and live their lives happily. Fifth Moral Code of Conduct teaches us this topic. Conclusion. Thus, by understanding the gross and subtle meanings of the 5 moral codes of conduct, if we try to adapt them with pure heart and sincerity and make them an inseparable part of our lifestyle, then we can certainly attain the ultimate salvation. And simultaneously, we can spread the fragrance of such ideal and superior type of lifestyle among the neighborhood and inspire others to follow the same. Proper observance of 5 moral codes of conduct requires blessings and grace of God. He can eradicate all the weaknesses and obstacles from the path of spiritual progress and help us attain salvation. Here we can notice that all the 5 moral codes of conduct are connected with each other and complementary to each other. So, breach of one of them results into the breach of others also. Therefore, we should follow a lifestyle in such a way that we can observe all the 5 moral codes of conduct with total awareness. If there are some drawbacks in following these codes of conduct, then immediately we should become aware and try to correct the mistakes by giving up laziness and by performing prayer and meaningful penance under the guidance of a mukta, along with self-awareness and self-assessment. Thus, we must proceed on the path of ultimate salvation. In a life of a seeker, there is a possibility of favorable and unfavorable experiences due to time and place. There is a possibility of purification and contamination of consciousness also. In spite of all these, a seeker should never give up. He should be brave and fight against all the weaknesses and drawbacks and proceed on the path of spiritual progress with total awareness. Utishta jagrat prapya varanni bodhat. Wake up, get going and do not stop until the aim is achieved. This is spoken by Swami Vivekanandaji. Kavi Pritam has also said that path of God is only for brave. Cowards cannot proceed on it. God realization is possible only through total surrender. Let us remember this always. Shubham Astu. Jai Swaminarayan.